Doktor sudah share slide ke?
Okey, dah ada?
Hi everyone, welcome to NALI 2020, an event for educators and researchers to display their excellent work in teaching and learning. In NALI 2020, we have keynote session, plenary session, and forum session. Today, we are having Associate Professor Dr. Naziha Ahmad Azli, Director of Curriculum, Innovation and Development Unit CIDU, Universiti Teknologi Malaysia. She will deliver a preliminary speech titled Future Research, Future Ready Educators. Before we start this session, I would like to read the biography of our honor speaker. Dr. Naziha Ahmad Azli is an associate professor at the School of Electrical Engineering, Faculty of Engineering, Universiti Teknologi Malaysia. She was formerly the laboratory manager at the school and was then appointed as the academic manager in 2013. She was the fourth-year laboratory coordinator at the school who initiated the problem-based laboratory in 2007, a transformation from the conventional to a non-conventional laboratory education. In 2015, she was appointed as the Deputy Dean, Academic and Development at the Office of Undergraduate Studies. Now, she is the Director of Universiti Teknologi Malaysia Curriculum Innovation and Development Unit CIDU under the Office of Deputy Vice-Chancellor, Academic and International. Without further ado, I would like to invite Associate Professor Dr. Naziha Ahmad Azli to deliver her speech.
Thank you, Sina. Assalamualaikum and very good afternoon to everyone. Today I'm going to talk about future ready educators, which is actually the theme for NALI 2020. So I will begin with some background on what is future ready educators and why we need to have future ready educators. And from then onwards, I will share with you what UTM has initiated, a program related to future ready educators. Okay, what we are going to what I'm sharing here is about 21st century learners. Okay, so 21st century learners are those who are when we talk about these 21st century learners, they would relate to the graduates of the future generation. So the current generation is actually Generation Z or Generation Z, Okay, and they are actually those who were born in 1996 onwards. So they are also called as iGen or centennials. So these are some of the characteristics of Generation Z. And I believe some of our students uh, now or a few years back, started a few years back, because by now, this generation is actually already in the job market, about 24 or 25 years old. Okay, so these are some of their characteristics. They are they love to socialize. They are multitaskers. They have characteristic of interest in entrepreneurs, to become entrepreneurs, educated, philanthropies, digital natives, interactive, tech savvy, less focused, and also cautious. Less focused meaning this generation, uh, their uh, their time spent for attention is very short. And so this relates to how we should convey knowledge to this generation. Okay, different from how we were being taught. So we need to come up with different ways to actually attract this generation in terms of focusing to a particular related field, for example. Okay, so this relates to the attributes of future ready graduates. Okay, which is described in this graphically. Okay, the attributes of the future ready educators, that they are strong team contributors, they are effective problem solvers. These are the expected attributes that they should have. So this is aligned to whenever we have a program or a higher educational program, which this relates to the program learning outcomes. What kind of graduates are we expected to produce? So there are a list of attributes there. So I'm not going to go through everything, but these are available in this slide. Okay. So who are the future ready educators? Okay. Some of you may have heard of future ready educators, some of you may have not, but this is a term commonly used nowadays, apart from future ready education itself. So future ready educators, this characteristic, you should look at yourself whether you have this characteristic or not. I would expect from the previous slide that majority of staff in UTM itself or in higher education institute in Malaysia or elsewhere, okay, they are probably majority of them are the closest to the Generation Z, okay, which is Generation Y. Okay, Generation Y. So they should be able to adapt or adopt this characteristic of future ready educators, so that they are very relevant to the students who are the Generation Z or Generation Z. Okay, so number one is this future ready educators should have the attributes of lifelong learners. Okay, they are expert. They should be expert in modern technology, and if they are not experts, they have to learn or they have to continue the professional development as someone who is an expert in modern technology. Number two is highly adaptable. That means they can adjust to various conditions. For example, if there's a change in technology, they will be able to quickly adapt themselves. Okay, effortlessly. Okay, so that is the characteristic of future ready educators. Number three is they should be relevant and engaging. That means when they want to communicate with their students, they should be able to seek for most relevant materials so that they can better engage with the student. Right? So these are the characteristics, meaning we are not just depending on notes or lecture notes that has been there for quite some time, but we need to actually find relevant knowledge, new knowledge related to our field, so that we can better engage the student. Okay. Number four is globally conscious. Future ready educators should be aware that the world is far beyond classroom. Okay, so they should be able to prepare their students to become global citizens. And in other words, becoming a future ready educator, we are not just thinking of the content of the knowledge not just delivering that, but to develop the characteristic of the graduates who are, which means that we need to give or provide more than what we usually do in class, not just the knowledge, but beyond that. So we have to include lots of activities in class rather than just teacher centered. So it has to be something holistic, yeah, because we are producing graduates who are holistic in nature. Okay, so in other words, the future ready educators should be able to prepare their students to become global citizens, because we have a borderless world, okay, in this coming years. Lastly is they should become astute digital citizen. What does that mean? That means they should be aware of, they should be strong digital citizenship. They should have this digital citizenship skills, and they should be able to relay this to their students. Okay, so when they are meaning when the students are always online, then they should be able to do things ethically, right? No copy and paste, plagiarism, and so on. Should teach the student, or should communicate with the student as such. The student would understand that they need to behave in a proper manner when they are when they become the digital citizen. Okay, so those are the characteristic of future ready educators. So as it says here, if we think that we are not at this level yet, then we should be working towards it. Okay. All right. Next, we will look at the evolution of the learning, teaching, and teaching activities. Okay. So this is where we should reflect just now from the characteristics of the students. Okay, the Generation Z. Okay, and the characteristic of the future ready educators. What they should have as an educator, what we should have. All right. So if you look at this evolution of learning and teaching activities, this is taken from a guideline provided by Ministry of Higher Education, which is framing Malaysian higher education 4.0 future-proof talents, where it highlights 4 categories of uh, learning and teaching activities that we can do in class. My HE, My Higher Education 1.0, is simply just the traditional teacher-centered, which is chalk and board, all right? And then My Higher Education 2.0, where learners become receptacles of knowledge, where at that point of time we use um, slightly higher than using chalk and board. We go for whiteboards, all right, and then a presentation using PowerPoint, and then we have projector and so on. Okay, and then comes to My HE 3.0. We can actually gauge where we are looking at this evolution of learning and teaching activities. So My HE 3.0 relates to the point that teachers are becoming facilitators. Okay, these are teaching learning methods related to not just lecture based, but it's more teachers student centered. Okay, and in some of the points there is collaboration. Okay, collaborative work among the students, and then other than that, involving social networking, of course. And I think many of us are at this level, okay, which is My HE 3.0, teachers becoming facilitators. So there comes the teaching learning methods such as problem-based learning, project-based learning, okay, active learning, which we conduct in class, okay. So these are actually known as self-directed learning, okay. And of course, if we are not familiar with it, we have to learn how we can actually become My HE to the level of My HE 3.0. And then we have My HE 4.0, which is what we are expected to be doing as an academic staff in this generation, whereby we look here, when we look at this diagram, it indicates learners here becoming the connectors or creators, okay? So it involves a lot of things that, of course, need higher technology, okay, related to, for example, align with the Industrial Revolution 4.0. So the challenge here is to actually to close the gap between the learners and the educators in terms of the activities. So if you look at this diagram, because we know the characteristic of our Gen Z just now or Gen Z just now, then we know that we need to at least be at MyHE 3.0, or the best is at level of MyHE 4.0. Okay. So when we mention 21st century learning, okay, so part of it actually involves online learning. Okay, so in this case, this is the medium of delivery. All right, and when we look at the future, it's going to be more on online learning. And in fact, in this era of pandemic, okay, we are actually engaging or using applying online learning in our classes, instead of the traditional face-to-face classes. Okay, other than that is when we look at the transformative delivery, okay, uh, as part of 21st century learning, which relates to heutagogy, pedagogy, and cybergogy. Uh, Heutagogy here relates to encouraging learners to become self-directed versus other to be when we want to compare it with the self-directed learning mentioned before. Heutagogy is more towards self-determined learning, okay, where the students determine how they want to learn, when they want to learn. Okay, and then we have the term pedagogy, which focuses on collaborative work, co-learning or co-creating. And then we have cybergogy, which relates to online learning, but not the online learning that we are familiar with using e-learning and so on, but it's beyond that, whereby it relates to the use of tools, okay, tools that actually can engage student better, right, in our teaching, okay, in our teaching and learning. So this relates to the transformative delivery. Okay, and then we talk about assessment. Okay, so uh, the generation Z, okay, they like to have, they prefer to have to learn through experience. Okay, they are doers. Okay, and because of that, we need to engage them with uh, activities related to immersive experiential learning. And the way to actually assess their achievement is not just through pen and paper examination, but it goes beyond that, whereby the term is known as holistic assessment or alternative assessment, and it is categorized in various numbered as various types of holistic or alternative assessment, among which are authentic assessment, performance-based assessment, personalized assessment, integrated assessment, contemporary assessment, real-time assessment, profiling assessment, and challenge-based assessment. There are many more. If you search for alternative assessment or holistic assessment, you can find many ways of assessing students on their learning. Okay, so these are the various types that I can mention here today. So all that I have mentioned just now actually relate to what is known as Future Ready Curriculum Framework. So this is actually shared by the Ministry of Higher Education in early 2020, which relates to fluid and organic curriculum structure, meaning the structure of the curriculum itself, the learning and teaching transformative delivery, the delivery, and also the assessment. So that is why I relate to you just now on the assessment part, which is holistic assessment, because we relate this to future ready, future graduates. We relate to future ready educators and also future ready, in this case, the framework itself. So number one is it has to be fluid and organic in terms of the structure, whereby we have a curriculum. The structure itself is perhaps we have the characteristic of convergent disciplines, meaning involving multidisciplinary programs, academic programs, interdisciplinary, and also transdisciplinary, among others. Okay, the structure itself can be something uh, flexible and non-conventional, not the conventional that we have in our current programs. Okay, It can be totally a project-based curriculum. It can be total problem-based curriculum. Some of our advanced countries actually have this in their curriculum, in their program, academic programs. Okay, and it can involve industry involvement. Okay, whether it is in the learning itself or in assessment. Okay, when we are assessing, it may we may invite the industry itself to assess our students. Okay, so that when we fit it in in the curriculum itself, it becomes something that is structured. Okay, and then global. Okay, we have a partnership with other countries, from people from universities, other universities from other countries, right? And global also means that you can actually construct a curriculum whereby part of it you actually have collaborative work among your students, not only from your university in Malaysia, for example, but also from other countries. So that gives the students a global view on whatever they are doing in their curriculum, right? And then we have learning and teaching in terms of the delivery itself. Okay, when just now when I mentioned about the 21st century uh, pedagogy or 21st century learning, okay, the learning spaces itself, and also immersive experiential learning, which I also mentioned just now, which relates to programs that we can have in our curriculum related to academic service learning, for example, aside from co-curricular service learning. So these are things that we can have our students engage within the curriculum itself. Okay, and lastly is the holistic assessment, which I've already mentioned just now. So future ready educators in the context of UTM, the term that we use is free. Free represents future ready educators. So it is actually an initiative, right? Uh, from the UTM Synergy 4.0, okay, which actually began in 2019. So future ready educators, we call it free. So free here is actually um, a program. Okay, but normally in UTM when we mention free, so most people would understand that this relate to future ready educators. Okay, and then number two is future ready curriculum. Okay, we actually outline our characteristics of future ready curriculum aligned with what our the Ministry of Higher Education framework on future ready curriculum. So we actually already have this. Okay, and life ready graduates, which UTM recently have institute for life ready graduates, okay, with its own mission. Okay, and futuristic learning spaces, which is actually something under development at the moment, a learning space that can be shared by that can be utilized by various faculties, and in each faculty or school also has initiated this at a smaller scale, but the one that we are developing is a bigger scale learning space that can be utilized by lecturers and students. Okay, sorry. Okay, why future ready educator? All right. So why we want to have this program? Okay, number one is uh, this relates to the learning and teaching for Generation Z, as I mentioned just now, or sometimes they are called iGen or the Centennials, right? And free is also a program that we initiated, okay, to support future ready curriculum in terms of flexibility. Because if we have these educators that are competent in conducting uh, uh, courses, okay, the non-conventional way, then we have a chance, or we have the probability to produce curriculum that are more flexible, okay, that allows uh, more work related to projects rather than courses that we currently have. Okay? And I believe there are other things that we can innovate if we have future ready educators to support the curriculum. Okay. And number three is creating the community of practices in learning and teaching. This is very important because we need to have this community, because learning and this transformative delivery is not something new. Okay, in I mean, it has been advocated since early 2000 or earlier, all right? But we want to make it, and even in UTM, we have our UTM lead teaching and learning, which actually gives or provide training, okay, to our staff to actually become future ready educators competent in delivering non-conventional learning and teaching methods. Okay, but we feel that this is not enough, because we need to create community of practices in learning and teaching, so that the will to actually conduct courses uh, uh, based on my HE 3.0 just now, as I presented. It becomes stronger when you are a community, rather than you on your own. Even after you're being trained, is you may not be have enough motivation to actually conduct it in your own course. Okay, so other than that is to support differentiated career path, basic competency in teaching, because we have our own teaching track for differentiated career path. So there is one particular part where lecturers or academic staff are expected to be able to conduct in terms of implementation of non-conventional teaching and learning. Okay, so that is why we initiated this program related to future ready educators, or we call it as FREE. So this is the strategic roadmap. Okay, basically, most people have seen this many times. So we have the support group, number one, UTM support group on 21st century learning and teaching. So this support group consists of members who are practitioners, okay, in various learning and teaching strategies. And then we actually appoint them to become the support group at central level. And number two is actually to form, okay, learning and teaching groups based on various learning and teaching strategies. Okay, so at this point, number one, we have actually have this since 2019 for the support group. The formation of the learning and teaching groups also has been ongoing since last year. And this year, we actually have the members registered, okay, in the various learning and teaching groups, or we call it as subgroups, okay, which actually the level that actually engage with the academic staff, right? And thirdly, we also create mentoring program on learning and teaching, okay, where we appoint mentors who are practitioners in certain learning and teaching strategy, non-conventional learning and teaching strategy, and we have a specific program whereby we have a younger academic staff to be under this mentoring program. Okay, and lastly, we also design such that all information on 21st century learning and teaching can be posted at UTM website for everyone to use, to share with each other, and actually share their experience, share what they have done, and so on. And this currently also we have similar information at various faculty websites under this program, Future Ready Educators. So Future Ready Educators is aligned with UTM's new academia learning innovation, okay, or NALI. This model has been developed in 2013, where you can see that in this slide, it relates to in this model of NALI. Okay, the focus is again the student-centered learning. Okay, so it relates to entrepreneurial academia. Okay, and then what are the things that we focus on is on blended learning. Okay, 30 to 80% of online learning. All right, which with this COVID-19 pandemic going on, we actually are able to have our academic staff actually engaging in themselves in blended learning in their own courses. Okay, and then we look at the pedagogy, andragogy, and heutagogy learning modes, and also the other part is on the digital resources related to the learning materials. Okay, those two categories are the initiatives related to NALI. So we can say that there is nothing, it's not something that contradicts, but actually Future Ready Educator program or free actually supports NALI, okay, which is also the program that we are having to this coming few days, which is relates to NALI 2020, and I think it speaks itself. What is the content of NALI 2020? Okay, so this is the model related to new academia learning innovation since 2013. So in the Future Ready Educator program, we actually have active learning initiated, all right, whereby active learning actually supports all the initiatives under the learning modes for NALI. Okay, and we define it as learning activities which engage students in the learning process to achieve the learning outcomes. As simple as that. And bit by bit, our lecturers can actually go further into the actual learning modes defined by NALI, okay, including problem-based learning, case study teaching, and so on. Okay. All right. So the framework for implementation for UTM free is, again, as I mentioned, at university level. We have the UTM support group on 21st century learning and teaching. Currently, we have about 20 staff, academic staff in this group. Okay. And then how does the framework work is that at the central level, we have the UTM support group, okay, and they actually supports the groups, the learning and teach, the groups on the side of the group leaders, okay, the group leaders. We appoint group leaders on various teaching and learning strategies, okay, and it depends on the level of the faculty where they are at this point, okay, on new or non-conventional teaching and learning methods. Okay, so for example, if you have the faculty A here, okay, so you have your group leaders, okay, on, let's say, on active learning, on cooperative learning, or problem or project based learning. So we have the leaders there, and under these leaders they have subgroups. Okay, so the leaders of the subgroups are the subgroup leaders, and it consists of the subgroup leader and academic staff who are supposed to register themselves in the subgroup so that they can learn from each other and creating this community of practices. Okay, so this is how we design the framework for free. Okay, in terms of implementation, there will be monitoring at faculty level, and there will also be monitoring at the central level. Okay, on whether or not this community of learning practices are actually conducting activities related to ensuring that all academic staff are competent to conduct non-conventional learning and teaching strategies. Okay, so okay, for as a UTM academic staff, these are the things that they need to have to do related to free framework. Number one is to register as members of the subgroups. Remember just now I mentioned about having the subgroups under the group leader. They have subgroups, and you have subgroup leaders. Okay, so they need to register as members of subgroups. They already have many subgroups, and most of our lecturers are members of these subgroups. Okay, for example, if you are under subgroup for cooperative learning, so you are registered under cooperative learning with a subgroup leader. So we design this so that each subgroup leader has about 5, maximum of 10 academic staff under them, or if not less than that, not more than 10. Okay, so that it can be properly managed. And number two is to join regularly, schedule subgroup meetings, okay, sharing sessions at least once a month. That means the subgroup leaders will have meetings with the respective academic staff, and then in the meetings they will have sharing session, because these subgroup leaders are those who have been trained to conduct, for example, cooperative learning in their own course, and therefore they actually can communicate this to the members. Okay, some members may have been trained also But when they have this community of practices, then they will be better encouraged, better motivated to conduct whatever they have been trained for in their own course or classes. Okay, and lastly is to train yourself. Yeah, to train yourself aside from the formal training given by our provided by UTM lead teaching and learning, the staff himself has or herself has to train to be trained under the subgroups, okay, in terms of practice, because maybe what they learn in the training is more on the theory, but in terms of the practice itself, they need to be in these subgroups so that they can finally become competent as a future ready educator by practicing the learning and teaching strategies in their own courses. So the learning and teaching strategies are not just confined to what I mentioned just now. So when you look at the framework or the model for NALI itself, uh, the academic staff need to also be competent on the technology, on the related technology. Okay, so these also they can learn, and in fact, one of the faculties actually have a month of future ready educator programs where they conduct a lot of sharing session with they have a lot of sharing session from these subgroups. Okay, and they even learn how to conduct courses online and so on. Okay, meaning you can still conduct student-centered learning but online, and this is possible, and the practitioners in respective faculties has actually shared this with their own subgroup members. Okay, and this is what I mentioned just now, and on the program known as Mentoring for Excellence, okay, or M4E, which we have also this Mentoring for Excellence for research, but we also have it for learning and teaching. Okay, this is conducted at central level, okay, under UTM lead teaching and learning. Okay, and this is the one that I mentioned just now on the free framework for implementation, also related to the informative website containing all the information, like you can share rubrics that you use for assessment. You can share how you conduct your own courses using particular learning and teaching, innovative learning and teaching method, and so on. Okay, and also I would like to say that even at faculty level also have these websites, okay, already up for sharing. Okay, what is the way forward for future ready educators or future ready, or for this program? What is the way forward? Number one, we hope to be able to implement what is known as free performance index in 2021, whereby we would like to gauge on how many of our academic staff actually has implemented other the innovative teaching and learning practices, including what I mentioned just now, the active learning, and also other NALI practices. To what extent have they been actually that they are conducting this, and how the competent level, their competent level. Okay, so the way to do this is actually to provide to have the subgroup leaders play a role, okay, in verifying whether their members are implementing free practices in their own courses. Okay, so the verification can be made through based on their own interaction or activities that they have in the subgroups itself, okay, with the subgroup members in terms of sharing sessions, class observation, discussion, and so on. So we hope that we want the community the community created at the subgroup level to actually have this close relationship, so that they can actually share with each other what they are doing in their own courses, okay, and learn from each other. That is the important thing for future ready educator program to become a success in UTM. Okay, so other than that, they can also decide on the competency level of their subgroup members from the information submitted in the teaching excellence system under the implementation of non-conventional teaching and learning. Normally, we are required to also upload the evidence related to implementation of non-conventional teaching and learning. Okay, and hopefully, we hope that in due time, we are able to come up with the free performance index and provide the star rating for each faculty. Okay, and it is very simple. The number of staff verified as implementing free practices in own courses will determine the performance index, okay, in the form of star rating as I mentioned here. Okay, I think that's about all that I would like to share on Future Ready Educator in general. What is Future Ready Educator? And also free as the Ready Educator program that we have implemented in UTM and is still ongoing. And we hope to be able to come out with the free performance index, which actually will reflect the competency level of our academic staff in becoming the so-called future ready educators. With that, thank you for listening. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Associate Professor Dr. Naziha Ahmad Azli, for the wonderful and inspiring speech about future ready educators. Yeah, thank you so much. And for our beloved audience, if you have any questions, you can try to post your question in our chat box. Yeah. All right. And basically, Dr. Naziha has shared with us who are the future educators and evaluation of learning and teaching activities, online learning in 21st century learning, including pedagogy, and cyberpedagogy, and holistic assessment, future ready curriculum framework, about free and UTM Synergy 4.0 initiative, and why do we need free, and also the UTM free for implementation. Besides that, Dr. Nazia also shared with us about the NALI model and UTM free synergy roadmap, and also ways forward for free, including free performance index. Yeah. Now let us move on to the session for question and answer Q&A session. Right. I think I received a lot of questions from Facebook comment session. Yeah. Let me pick one of the questions. Okay, from Hadi. Okay, how to best connect Generation Z and Alpha students with student educators who are mostly Generation X and Y?
Okay, how is best to engage? Okay, so that is why, okay, for UTM, the free framework, we actually design it best for those who are non-generation Z, but we expect that they are the closest to generation Z, which is the generation Y. Okay, so of course, majority of generation Y, they have been taught differently. They have been taught differently, meaning they have been taught based on teacher-centered rather than student-centered. Okay, so that is the main purpose why we create this Future Ready Educator program in UTM itself. Okay, so that when we talk about just engaging student through student-centered learning, that is just one part of becoming a future ready educator. But once you are equipped with that, then you should go further uh, beyond just a simple student-centered learning related. I mean, you are becoming an educator which can actually empower or actually use student-centered learning in your own courses. Okay, because we know that with uh, teacher-centered, just plain lecturing, okay, is something very simple to do compared to if you are actually to engage students through activities. So, Dr. Hadi, who asked the question just now, I would say that because of this, we need Future Ready Educator program because we want to close the gap between the students, the Gen Z, all right, and the educators who are basically Gen Y, and even now we have Gen X still in UTM. We have Gen X. I'm actually at the border between X and Y. Okay, so in order to get the buy-ins from everyone, it's not something easy. But we expect those who are Gen Y should be able to train themselves. Okay, to go for reskilling or actually to allow themselves to actually close this gap and become future ready educators. So that's my answer for that.
Okay, thank you, Doctor, for the answer. Yeah, it's very interesting. All right, I also received another interesting question from Liu. All right. Okay, thank you for the nice presentation, inspiring if we could really produce these graduates. How should we align these new teaching methods and philosophies with senior staff, which sometimes find it difficult to work with technology? So, Doctor?
Okay, all right, this is something genuine. It's not something that no that we don't know. We know that we have the as I mentioned just now, the Gen X here still in UTM. Okay, so at this point, when we talk about future ready educator program related to having the subgroup leaders and subgroups, we actually encourage actually enrollment in the or registering yourself in the subgroups is actually compulsory. Okay, and we want everyone to be attached to one subgroup, so that even if the senior staff, okay, the those from Gen X are not able to relate themselves to technology, to the teaching and learning method itself, they are still able to uh, get to know what it's all about. Even if they're not able to do it, they should be in the group so that they learn from others. They learn from the Generation Y academic staff. Okay, and because of and with that, they should be able to try to relate. That's why I always say that even if you cannot do it, but you should support it. Okay, and then this is the reason why we need to have that subgroup leader, the subgroups to function well, so that that is where the sharing comes. When those who are not familiar with technology, then that is where the younger generation will actually help out. Okay, will actually help out and guide those who are not familiar with technology and so on. Okay, to that level. So that is why we want this community. If we don't have this community, then forever we are lost, because the younger generation will go forward, but the older generation will stay as where they are, and not actually joining and not actually going onto the same ship. Okay, as I can say, ship or plane or whatever. Okay, all right.
Yeah,
That's
Doctor,
my
from here I can see that the teamwork is very important. Yeah, we need to help each
yes,
other, and sharing is caring. So, for
the
me, I have a question for Doctor. Yeah, so what are the challenges faced when implementing UTM Future Ready Educators framework, the free framework? Is
okay,
there
good
any,
question. Good question.
especially nowadays COVID-19? Yeah,
Yeah, we have the framework. Okay, we have the framework. Okay, we know how this should be done. Okay, and we have actually given or empowered the faculties to carry on. Okay, with whatever we have designed. The importance of future ready educator need to be everyone has to actually has this feeling that this is important, because if you don't have that kind of attitude or feeling, then you will come 2 3 years ahead. We will not be able to gauge how many actually uh, eligible to become quote unquote future ready educators. Okay, because if you are still not doing what you're supposed to do, okay, if you're still not practicing what is the not to say the trend, but what is required for you as an educator. Okay, if you are still in the same level, at the same level, you want to teach the same way that you are being taught, then you're not going to become the so-called future educators, okay, that we plan you to become. So the important thing is to ensure that the community of practices is having this uh, engagement, or this, even during the pandemic, they can always have a webex session, discuss things, how to conduct things online. Because if this actually works, I believe that we will reach the target to have all our staff, academic staff, competent in becoming the future ready educators. Okay, but this activities has to go on regardless of the current condition, and I can say that some faculties actually uh, have these activities ongoing. Okay, they still do the activities, although we have this kind of pandemic going on. They do it online, and they actually have a lot of sharing, even as simple as how to use e-learning to conduct assessment, to use e-learning, simple as that. Okay, to actually use e-learning for active learning, yeah, to conduct active learning in class, right? Not just having a class online, class with students, just with you talking like a teacher-centered supposed be. So, but instead, uh, engage student in activities online, just like what you do it face to face. All this has to be learned. It's not something that, if you're not familiar with it, if you're not being trained to do it, if you don't learn from someone, you are not going to be able to do it yourself. Okay, so it's something that is the importance of having these subgroups in all the faculties. We want subgroup because it's a smaller number of people, so they are truly engaged as friends. We talk to each other. If we don't know how to do this, we can ask our friends in the same subgroup. So that is the purpose of having this. That's why we cannot have more than 10 people in the subgroups. Okay, so I believe having this pandemic is nothing, is not a hinder to actually continue with activities related to future ready educators. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Doctor. Yeah, I can say that in short, commitment is very important, yeah, to make everything happen. Yeah, commitment, yeah.
Yes.
All right. So I have another interesting question from Helmi. Yeah, I'm going to show the question here. All right. So thank you very much, Associate Professor Dr. Naziha, for the interesting presentation. Can you please elaborate the difference between multidisciplinary and interdisciplinary and transdisciplinary?
Mm. Multi is actually, if you have an academic program, the keyword is actually the adding something. So multidisciplinary is you to add another field to an existing field. And multidisciplinary is normally a different field, from a different field. For example, you have engineering as one field, okay, and the add-on is perhaps management. Okay, so that is an add-on. So that is a multidisciplinary program. Okay, if you have interdisciplinary, it is within the same discipline, okay, field or discipline, which means perhaps you are in social science, yeah. Under social science, you have uh, interdisciplinary, so that relates to one program. It is actually within the same field. It's also it's not actually additive. It's not actually additive, but actually you infuse it in your program. So it's interdisciplinary within social science itself. For example, psychology, and then you have uh, uh, psychology and also human resources, for example. So that is interdisciplinary. Okay, if it's not an add-on, which is still within the social science field, or perhaps it is still under the science field or under the engineering field. So you have it combined to become. I mean, part of the curriculum includes the other subfield, so that becomes interdisciplinary. And transdisciplinary, the keyword is actually integrated. You integrate something. So, for example, like current program in UTM is mechatronics. That is an integrated program, okay, which is transdisciplinary in nature. And then we have the bioinformatics, for example, is also transdisciplinary. Okay, I hope I've answered your question.
Yeah, thank you, Doctor, for the clear explanation. Yeah, at least for me, understand. Yeah, I think Helmi
Right.
also understood about it.
Great.
All right. So move on another question, also interesting question, right? Yeah, Salam Associate Professor Dr. Naziha. What are your views on how we can ensure the curriculum is responsive to current industry demands, and what are the current best practices to ensure this? Thank you.
Okay, if you want to talk about industry, then of course you need to engage with the industry to need to know what is actually their requirement. But at the same time, we need to know what we can offer to the industry. Okay, because in terms of content of a particular field or discipline, for example, so what you need to do is, of course, in terms of engagement, you can create surveys, yeah, through something quantitative, okay, in terms of the feedback that you can get from the industry itself, or you can actually engage with the industry with a qualitative way of actually getting the data related, so that you can do the analysis and reflect back on your own program. So what can you do? We don't need to create new programs, but we can have our current programs with enhancement. That means based on their feedback, what is the current requirement and so on. And at the same time, we also should direct the industry instead of just following what they need, but we need to inform them on what is the latest. Okay, that is also important. And from there, we can actually review our curriculum so that it will be aligned with the industrial requirement. Of course, at undergraduate level, we can actually have programs that are based on actually having our students be part of the curriculum is to have the students go to the industry itself aside from the usual industrial training, but we go for more than that. Okay, we go into work-based learning, right? Currently the ministry already advocated the 2U2I program, 2 years in industry and 2 years in university. So even if we don't actually say that this is a 2U2I program, we can have our current curriculum restructured so that we have elements that actually have the students engage with the industry. For example, have the industry come over to the universities. Certain courses actually talks are given, or actually some of the content is actually delivered by the industry. We can actually have this. So that's why we need to have close relation within the industry itself, so that we can gain many things in one go. For example, the curriculum fits the industry. Number two, in terms of GE, of course, graduate employability, right? That will help to enhance graduate employability among our students, among our graduates. Okay, I think personal engagement or engagement with industry is very important. Okay.
Yeah, I agree with that because now when we get the feedback from the industry, then we can know what they need and then we can offer what we have. Yeah, all right. Thank
Yes,
you.
that's the
Yeah.
best.
So, the next question will be all right. Okay, daughter, how to connect those who are before generation X, Y, and Z?
How to connect?
Yeah,
Is
how to
it the
connect?
question?
Yeah, the
Before
question is
generation
from.
X, Y,
Mm,
and Z will be because Y is actually known as the millennials, actually. Okay, so X, Y, and Z. Before X is actually the baby boomers. Okay, which are perhaps your parents, the students' parents. Some students' parents will be in actually the parents of our students now. It's probably Generation X. Okay, but the one before that are baby boomers. So that will be maybe perhaps. Are you saying how to engage with the baby boomers? Is that the question? Okay. Is it in terms of teaching and learning? Because at this point, I think majority of the baby boomers, if they are in education, they are either already a pensioner or about to become a pensioner. Okay,
mm,
so majority of our staff here in UTM, I would expect, or are at the perhaps they are baby boomers, but they are close to Generation X. Okay, so to engage is, as I mentioned just now, you need to be able to talk. That's the main thing. It's not easy to actually close or the generation gap, but at least to try to to make the gap smaller. Okay, by conversation, of course. Okay, we need to talk, and then perhaps help each other, right? Helps each other. When we are an educator, it will be helping each other in terms of perhaps a research, our research work, helping each other in terms of become competent lecturers, of course, in teaching and learning. Yeah. Okay.
mm.
I hope it
Okay.
answers your question.
Yeah. From here, I can see that communication is one of the channels, to solve all the problems. Yeah, we need to
Yeah,
communicate with each other. Yeah. Okay.
true.
Because of the time constraint problem, maybe I go for the last question. Yeah. The last question will be can we implement other teaching method instead of the one that is related to the subgroup assigned to us?
Okay, actually, when we designed this future ready educator, uh, we appointed the group leaders. Okay, we appointed the group leaders based on the strength of the school or faculty. Okay, so if in a particular school you already have practitioners doing, for example, they are very good in service learning, but they need to get more people to be engaged in service learning, particularly academic service learning, because academic service learning is within the curriculum itself. So, for example, if you want this, schools faculties have the freedom to actually appoint their own group leaders. Not appoint, but appointment is made by at central level, but at least to suggest, okay, in my faculty, I want one group on service learning, for example. We do allow this. We do not say that everyone has to do the same, but compulsory is to have groups starting from basic active learning, which I defined just now in my slides. Basic active learning, why? Because we realize that many of our colleagues are not actually even conducting activities in class. They are more inclined to just lecturing. Because we are trying to pull these people out of the comfort zone of just lecturing to include active learning in their courses. So we have active learning groups. That's the reason why we have active learning groups. So people are saying active learning is everything. Yes, that's true. No, like we are doing other things, case study based learning, those are all active learning. But we actually define the definition I gave you just now is the basic active learning, which we would like to relate to all lecturers so that everyone start with that first. How to engage your student through the activities. Okay, and then once you're competent in that, then you yourself can create your own group. Let's say you are good at, for example, just now I mentioned case study. You are good at delivering using case study. Then you can suggest to have a group on case study and subgroups on case study. We are very flexible on that. Okay, so the main thing is to have the number one is the practitioners first. Okay, if you are the practitioner, then you can say, okay, I am good at service learning. I do service learning all the time, and I want to create this group. So you can suggest to your faculty that you want this group created at your faculty. You even volunteer to become the group leader, for example, and people who are interested in conducting that as an innovative teaching and learning practice can actually get themselves into the group and do this do the service learning in their own course. Learn how to do it from your subgroup leader and then implement it in your own course. Okay, because non-conventional teaching learning methods are not just something that you can do without proper training. You need to properly plan and you know what kind of activities you're going to conduct in your courses. Okay, so I
Yeah.
I hope that answers also the question.
Yeah,
Okay.
I do believe that the purpose of the subgroup is one of the platform for us to share the knowledge, to share our
Yeah.
experience. Yeah, and then we can learn from the experienced one or for those who are expert. Yeah, I think this is the
Yes.
purpose of the subgroup. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
But,
That is the
yeah,
purpose of having this. All right.
yeah,
Okay.
Tutor, we are approaching the end of the session. Yeah. May you provide some take-home message to our beloved audience?
Okay, take home message for
Uh,
UTM academic staff. Please join the subgroups. Okay, and then let us learn from others who are already practicing this. Let us all become competent in conducting innovative teaching and methods in our own course, and let us become the future ready educators for the future generation. That's all from me.
Okay, thank you so much. We are now approaching the end of this session, and I would like to thank our speaker, Associate Professor Dr. Naziha Ahmad Azli, Director of Curriculum Innovation and Development Unit, CIDU, University Teknologi Malaysia, for her interesting and inspiring plenary speech. Yeah, thank you so much, Doctor. And
Okay, you're
the
welcome.
next session will be on the topic of digital well-being, supporting mental health needs in teaching and learning, and it will be conducted tomorrow. So all of you are invited and welcome to join the session tomorrow. And thank you very much for your participation in this session. I hope you really enjoy it and become more excited to renew our commitment to teaching and learning. Thank you very much and see you in the next session.
Visit our NALI exhibition virtual booth. Just follow 2 simple steps to get there. First, you go to the Facebook page of NALI 2020. Second, you find the photo tabs and then click on the photo album of NALI 2020 virtual exhibition. You're now able to view all the posters of NALI practices in teaching and learning. Do enjoy our virtual exhibition booth, and the poster with the most likes will be awarded the People's Choice Award. So visit us now and don't forget to like and share.
Visit our virtual STEM competition. Just follow this very simple step. First, check the STEM Made competition schedule in the website. Second, follow the schedule accordingly. Third, go to Facebook page NALI 2020. Fourth, you will see the pin post of the STEM Made schedule accordingly in the post. Do enjoy the STEM Made competition. You can also view all the session in the video tabs. Then click on the video playlist STEM Made competition to view all the STEM Made presented by our participants. To enjoy our virtual STEM Made competition, and don't forget to like and share.